Hello, hello. So coming live because I wanted to start to talk about something that's a little more woo-woo than I normally talk about. But if you know me, I am decidedly woo-woo. The foundation of everything that I do here has its foundation and its roots in creating just like a spiritual evolution for you. So what I wanted to talk about was how to actually hear messages from your home. So let's go rewind all the way to the beginning. What am I talking about? So your home has consciousness based on three different things, okay? So those three things are your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and the energy you put out into your space, which is typically what I talk about, changing the subconscious narrative of your home. The consciousness of your home is also influenced by the type of home you live in, the architectural details, things like that. And no, that does not mean that the bigger the space you have, the more like energy you have in your home. That's not what I'm saying. But the third kind of level of consciousness is also kind of the energy of the land that your home resides on. So are you in the mountains? Are you by the beach? Are you on the plains? Are you by water? Are you by not water? So you know what I'm saying there. So your home at any given time is giving you messages from those three different types of consciousness that are blended together, that's talking to you every single day. So like I said, the one that I tend to focus on with folks here using feng shui, using trauma-informed decluttering is the first one, what your subconscious mind is sharing with you in space. But for this, I'm going to talk about all three, which is not something I normally do. But I feel like it's so important now, more so than it's ever been in the last couple of years of me doing this, to start talking about all three. We need to start being able to hear messages from the land, from our homes, and from ourselves. So your higher self is channeling through your home at all times. So the first way you can start listening to your home is the same way I tell you to listen to everything, is you have to slow down and create more space and awareness in your mind and in your body to actually hear the messages. What do we do as soon as we wake up? We're checking our phone, we're looking at our day, the baby's crying, the dog is barking, we're going. We don't really create any sense of time throughout our day. It doesn't have to be in the morning, but throughout our day to really sit and listen. So that is the first thing y'all can start doing, to really start to listen to your home. And I know that can feel like, that's what everybody says. And I know that's what everybody says, and that's because it works. Everybody says it because it actually works. If you have a meditation practice, you already know this. That stopping for a few moments and really listening creates that opening in your body and in your mind to really hear some of those messages. So the first thing you can start doing is just creating that awareness in your day of what is my home telling me. So how to do this from an even simpler standpoint, if you just are in a space where you're like, I've got 6 kids, girl, like that ain't happening. I need you to start to notice what is happening in your home on a day-to-day basis. What is breaking? Where are the pictures constantly askew? Where is there dust constantly accumulating? Things like that. Those are messages from your space. Now, this does not mean, why don't you go dust? Why don't you go clean? Why don't you go declutter? I'm not saying that. If you have been in my world for a hot moment, you know I do not ascribe to minimalism or maximalism. I don't tell you here to declutter to reach some sort of external societal standard. I tell you to declutter because it is going to launch you into a spiritual evolution, into the next level that you're trying to get to, whatever goal, dream you have for your life, for freedom, for your next job, for the baby, for the partner. The internal act of decluttering rolls into the physical external act of decluttering, and you create so much room in your life to do those things. So just a little aside, if you are new in my world, we don't do minimalism, maximalism here. If it works for you, great, but we don't do that here. So when you start to recognize in your home without shame, without being like, the lady on the internet says if I have stuff in this area, that means my feng shui and the energy flow in my home is shit. Yes and no. I just want you to stop and notice, where is the stuff always piling? Where is the dust always piling? Where are the pictures constantly askew and you feel like you're fixing them a lot more in this bedroom versus that hallway? What area of your home just like feels like it resists being clean? All of this is information for you to start to understand the messages that your home is sharing with you. If you constantly have a leak in your basement, or if one plant is growing really well in your home but the plants over here aren't, all of that is information for you. It's not good or bad. Don't try not to ascribe a good or a bad thing to it. That's what we do on the internet, especially in the feng shui and decluttering world. We say, that is bad, this is good. We don't do that here. Throw that all away if you can. My decluttering workshops will help with that if you feel a lot of shame around what your home looks like. But the more we kind of pull back from this kind of dichotomy between this is good, this is bad, you can actually hear the wisdom that is being channeled through your home. And if you missed it, remember there's 3 different ways that this wisdom is being channeled through your home. It's your higher self, your subconscious mind, the architecture of your home, and then the actual geographics, the quality of the land that you're on. Again, if you're in the mountains, by the beach, that kind of thing. So those are some of the things you can look for. Is something breaking in your home? Every time something breaks in somebody's home, I say that is a huge message that your home is trying to share with you. If something is breaking, it wants your attention. Now, how do you start to decipher these messages? This is where your intuition comes into play. Because I don't want you to sit here and think for one moment that I have all the answers for you. I'm not your savior, I'm your guide. Because I get that a lot, especially in my DMs of, how do I declutter? You seem like you have it all together. This is why I don't use lifestyle marketing. I want you to I want to give your power back to you. I want to hold the mirror up and say, this is your power. Take it back from me, from anybody on the internet, from your friends, your family, your husband, whoever it is, your partner. I want you to take that power back. So I'm gonna start to walk you through how to tap into your intuition so you can decipher these physical messages that you're getting from space. I just listed a whole bunch out. So one of the easiest ways to do this is to get quiet. You don't have to meditate. It's just turning off the TV, putting the phone in another room, waiting till the kids, the baby, the dog, the husband's out of the house if you have a few moments. Because I'm a mom now, I know those few moments can be hard to find. And I want you just to sit in a specific room of your house, doesn't matter which room. Just start anywhere, or maybe you're gonna use your intuition and be like, well, this room always feels off to me, go sit there. This room always feels really good to me, go sit there, doesn't matter. And I want you just to breathe. Here's the simple yet challenging next part. I want you to breathe for a few moments and simply ask, room, home, what do you need from me? What do you need from me? Here's the kicker. Whatever comes in is the truth. Even if it doesn't make any sense. Even if it's like, what? Even if it's telling you really something funky and weird. The biggest block, I would say, to people actually listening to their intuition is whatever messages they get, they automatically discount them. Because they say they're weird, they're odd. Maybe the message isn't coming in like a full kind of perfect little book. So they get flashes of things, but they don't write them down and they just say, well, this is weird, I'm going to throw it out. Don't do that. You are actually naturally brilliant at knowing how to heal yourself. Remember, we do trauma-informed everything here. So I'm not telling you to do the X, Y, and Z in your home because I want it to look a certain way. I don't use lifestyle marketing. I don't show you my home because whatever my home looks like should have no bearing on what your home looks like. So the moment you sit in the room and you open yourself up and you say, okay, room, home, whatever it is, closet, what do you need from me? You will immediately get wisdom. Even if it takes a few minutes, Usually when I do this with my clients, I actually have a special offer for everybody, so please stay tuned because I'm going to start doing these with folks, especially if you're like, I need this wisdom, but I'm just not sure where to start. Almost immediately when I do this with my private decluttering clients, because we do a 4-month journey, so I have time to teach them, they'll start like just spouting things off, and I have them write it down. And those messages always become exactly what they need to end up hearing. So for example, I just had a woman finish 4 months of private decluttering with me. She decluttered her whole home. It was amazing. I love it. What's even better is not that she decluttered her home, but it's that now she not only can listen, but she trusts her intuition. She trusts the messages that come to her. And the first time that I had her do this exercise, she was in a room that she just hated in her house. And she immediately heard a voice that said, I'm not taking responsibility. I'm really upset at you that you're not taking responsibility for this home. And she's like, wow, that's really weird. Like, I know I'm not taking responsibility for this room. I kind of just pile everything into this room. What she didn't know she was doing was she actually was hearing, this is where it gets a little weird, but stay with me. She was hearing the spirit of the original owner of her home who loved the home so much and was upset that she was kind of letting this one room just become a big junk room. She wasn't taking care of it. So what did she start doing? As soon as she listened to it, she was like, okay, let me see what I can do here. A couple weeks later, cleaned up the room a little bit. She tried this exercise again, and she could hear the voice again. Now, this doesn't make her a medium. This just meant that she got the exact wisdom that she needed. She heard again in her mind, thank you, thank you. And now that room no longer feels icky to her. It no longer feels weird. She's no longer using it as a junk room. This was like an extra bedroom, by the way. It wasn't like a basement or a garage or a closet where you're like meant to put things. This was an extra bedroom that she was just throwing shit in that she needed. She had a couple of kids, so she needed this bedroom. So that's what I'm saying. You will immediately get information, but don't discount what you're experiencing. This woman was not a medium. She did not regularly channel spirits. This was very odd to her. And all of a sudden she's like, oh, I don't know who I'm hearing, but I'm hearing this voice that's disappointed in me. And that was the reason that room felt icky for her, because she could feel that disappointment and she didn't want to feel that. Who wants to feel disappointment? She didn't know where it was coming from. But the moment she sat down and just took a beat and looked in the mirror and said, oh, okay, I'm not taking care of this room to the best of my ability. I know I can do better. So then that room stopped feeling icky to her and it went back to being a bedroom. And now she has an extra bedroom that she was just throwing shit in. So that's what I'm saying. That is how you start to hear messages from your space. You will hear them from your higher self. Remember, it might be your subconscious. It might be a prior occupant of the home, or it might even be the land itself. I work with normal, everyday people. I don't work typically with, I work with some ultra spiritual women, but I work with a lot of normal people, and they get these messages all the time. More and more, people are starting to get messages from the land itself. They're starting to hear water on their property where they're like, there's no water on my property. Lo and behold, they got so interested, they pull up old records. Yeah, there's an underground spring on their property and they could hear the water. They're like, there's no water here, but they could hear it. They just trusted themselves enough to know, like, no, I got this message. What's happening here? So that is how you do it. It is simple yet challenging at the same time. Go, sit, take quiet time if you can. I know that can be difficult for moms, but go, take some quiet time and just simply ask. Now, let me dive into why I want you to do this. Yes, getting messages from spirits is really cool, but the reason it's nice to do this occasionally is because you are going to be told exactly what you need to do, what your next step should be, not just in your home, because again, this isn't about your home. This isn't about what your home should end up looking like. This is a message for you cycled through your home. Your home is this huge tapestry, like a web of light of information, but yet we don't pay attention to it And I get it. We've been sold this idea that our home is this kind of dead thing, that it has no consciousness, it has no life to it, that home exists to serve you. And in a way it does, but you're in an equal and opposite relationship with your home. Your energy is seeding your home, and that energy from your home and the land that you're on is coming right back to you. It is this circular relationship we can cultivate. Now, you can even be in a condo and in an apartment, in a studio. It doesn't matter. I'm in a condo. Like, it's okay if your feet are like up in the sky, so to speak. They're like, you don't like have a backyard or a front yard. Like, that is all okay. I get messages all the time from my home, even though, I don't really have land in that way. So one of the coolest, because I love teaching through stories. So one of the coolest stories that I got personally, messages from my home. So there's a wealth area in everybody's home. And if you're interested in where your wealth area is, if you hop on my email list, there's a free guide that'll walk you through how to figure out where your wealth area is, where all the 9 areas are. But so there's a wealth area here. I'm getting the messages from this area. I'm ignoring them because, I'm not taking my own advice. This was about right after my son was born. It's about 9 months ago. I'm ignoring it. I'm too busy. I'm a new mom. It makes sense. I have a lot on my plate all at once. I'm ignoring it. And then finally I'm like, okay, I'm ignoring this. I sit down. My son's asleep. Husband's out of the house. I sit down for 5 minutes. I say, okay, what do you have to tell me? I mean, not even 30 seconds goes by and I hear, buy a lamp. You need light. Okay. I go on Amazon. I get like a $25 lamp, you guys. Like, I did not spend a lot of money on this. I put the lamp in this wealth area corner that I knew it needed to go in. And you're not going to believe this. So 2 or 3 days later, this is how fast, as soon as you take action on these messages, how fast your life can change. As soon as I turn on this lamp, it sits there for about 3 days. I just turn it on at night, like using it like a normal lamp. And I get this epiphany of how I have been avoiding taking responsibility for the finances in our house. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, we're budgeting the wrong way. Like, I had been letting my husband budget for a really long time, just because he's in the finance world, he's better at it, he's faster at it, and I was giving up responsibility. But I was told, no, don't do that. Take responsibility for the way the finances are flowing through your life, and you guys are budgeting the wrong way. So we sat down. I was like, I know this sounds crazy, babe, but we should be budgeting this way. I ended up saving us like $14,000 because we were budgeting the wrong way. And money was flowing out, like it was just flowing into the wrong pots. And I ended up saving us like $14,000. So it's crazy, wild, nutty stuff like that the second you pay attention to these messages, it's not because a lamp was going to make that area look, like my home came out of Better Homes and Gardens. There was a message I needed to hear. So not only did I end up saving us like 14 grand, I sat down a few weeks later and said, okay, do you have anything else for me, wealth area? And I saw a wave of water. So I said, okay, you need some water. You need some life. So I already had a little indoor water feature that had been in my office, but my office became my son's room and it was just sitting in a closet. So I said, okay, we can fix this. So I put it in that area too. And then I started making more sales because I run an online business. Obviously that's important. So I'm not telling you the story so I sit here and be like, look at me. I'm sharing this because this is why it's so important to listen to these messages. You never have any idea what is nudging at your subconscious that wants to come through your home because you are so energetically connected to your space, connected to your possessions, and they will tell you exactly where they want to go. You can hear them. Some of us hear them very, very clearly, and we don't even know that we're hearing them. Some of us will channel spirits through our home that tells us something we need to hear. And some of you will channel all three, or you'll channel energy from the land itself. especially if you have a backyard. Go and sit in your backyard and ask the land specifically, what do you need from me? It will tell you. And now that I've been doing this, I have a lot of conversations with you in the DMs. I'm hearing from more and more people that when they do this, they go and ask the land itself what it needs. The land's been saying love and joy. And so take that for whatever it at face value and whatever that means for you. Are there any questions with this? I'm happy to answer a few questions because that's how you do this basically. It's simple yet challenging at the same time, but it is practice. It is a skill, a muscle that we flex. And just like anything else, the more we practice it, the more it becomes, just innate in who we are. I really like to do this work like right before bed, instead of scrolling my phone and on TikTok or Instagram, because that just makes my eyes feel like sandpaper. I like to do it a couple minutes before bed and say, okay, you've given me your message. I'm going to sleep now. I'll hop on that. So if you are someone who is trying this intuitive approach, it's just, you're not feeling it, or I don't know, you feel blocked in some way, you can also look to your home and see where energy blocks are maybe forming in your space. So an energy block might look like an area that gets really, really dusty faster than everything else, or just seems to collect more dust. An area that gets really, really cluttered faster than others. An area where the pictures are askew or something is breaking. Everything has a meaning. And it's not to annoy you or piss you off, especially if something breaks, because I know there's a monetary, you have to pay to have it fixed. It's not to piss you off. Your home is trying to communicate with you in the only way it knows how when you don't listen to your intuition. So it's going to break things. It's going to collect dust and clutter and turn the pictures askew. It's not doing it to hurt you. It's doing it to get your attention. But the less things will break, the less things will get cluttered, the less things will collect dust when we actively spend time listening to our intuition. My home had been telling me for a while to pay attention to that wealth area. It broke both of my faucets. I've got 2 bathrooms, and both of my showers broke within a week of each other. Like the faucets, like one of the faucets fell off, and the other one, like the hot water diverter, broke in the faucet. So you only got cold water, but that's not a fun shower. And so I went and got them fixed, but I still wasn't listening to the message. Because in feng shui, that probably doesn't make sense. In feng shui, water flow is connected to money, currency, money flowing through the house. So if anybody has any questions on this, let me know. I'm happy to take a couple questions. But the reason I'm telling you to do this is one of the simplest ways I can explain for you to start really enjoying your space and creating the sanctuary that you deserve. And again, we're not saying a sanctuary that is head to toe marble and, a $6 million beach house. That's not it. You can have those things, but that's not really what I'm saying. It's a sanctuary is really, at least in my world, a space where energetically it is meeting you and also launching you into your next version. Not a space that's keeping you stuck in the past with old beliefs, old thoughts, old, ways of doing things. We all create coping mechanisms in our life. And the way we can understand when our home is no longer serving us is because we're starting to see clutter and dust and ickiness. And we're like, oh, I hate this. I hate this room. Or why does that corner always so annoying to me? Let me see. I got some questions. How to process shame with not having the house at a good place energetically. Okay. Shame is one of the biggest killers of your intuition. There is so much inherent shame in our homes. So one of the ways you can start to do this, by the way, my decluttering workshops, the very first one walks you through shame and how to really break this. But just a quick little thing here is starting to notice what shame feels like in your body. So whoever asked that question, if you just stop for a moment and you close your eyes and say, okay, what do I feel shame about? Your mind will start to tell you. That's just your subconscious that will be pulled to the front, pulled into the consciousness, and it will start to tell you. I feel shame about my cabinets are not good. I feel shame that my home never looks perfect. Okay, so once you have a couple of things, I want you then to sit quietly and say, okay, where did this come from? This is the inner child healing piece. You might not have all the pieces, that's okay. But if you start to walk that back, where did this come from? Did your mother constantly say, this room is so dirty, I hate it in here. Like, why, how can you live like this? You live like a pig. Or did a teacher say godliness is next to cleanliness? Or did a friend walk into your room as a teenager and be like, ugh, it's gross in here? There is a moment in the past where something made you feel ashamed. And then what that happens is then we feel shame about the way we live, and then society heaps more shame on us because we have all these images in our brain of what a home should look like, thanks to Instagram and TikTok and lifestyle marketing, which is why I purposely do not use lifestyle marketing. You won't see me showing spaces of my home and being like, look how amazing I am. Look how decluttered my home is. Now, I know that will probably sell more of whatever I'm selling that day, but I don't use it because that will heap more shame on you. So that's a place for you to start. This sounds like my northeast area that gets cluttered, messy, leaks. Possibly. So I don't use the cardinal directions because I find that they're very, very confusing for folk. But I mean, sure, I'm sure there are some cardinal directions maybe aligned with water energy that might feel like they get leaks faster than others. So if this is feeling like I need some messages from my space, this is a fabulous place to start. You will start to get messages for yourself that will move you forward, that will help you manifest things in your life. Trust me, your furniture, your possessions, your home, and the land will speak to you. Now, if you're sitting there like, wow, I really like this, I have nowhere to start. So I started doing these over the summer, but I want to start doing them again because they were really fun. These are soul of the home readings. So when I was doing these over the summer, like, they were so fun, you guys. Like, I got to feel the energy of people's homes because this is what I do best. This is kind of where my skills lie. I got to just sit there and feel the energy of people's homes and deliver these messages to them. I had one woman who was in, I think it was in Miami, over the summer, and I was like, who's the person in the kitchen with you? Now, I'm not a medium, but sometimes I will see or hear spirits. And she was like, stop, that's my best friend that died this past year. And I was like, he's in the kitchen with you. And she's like, stop, I have chills. Like, we always used to cook together. And so I got to deliver these really beautiful messages. So I'm going to start doing those again. I just kind of do them whenever I want them. They're called Soul of the Home readings. I'll drop the link in my stories, and maybe I'll put it in my link tree. But if you're like, wow, I'd love some of these messages. Like, I have clutter, I have stuff. I don't know where to start. I'm going to start doing those again. And they're actually much cheaper than my decluttering work. Because this is just really, really fun for me, just to deliver messages from you guys. I had a woman, again, over the summer when I was really doing these more, and I was just like, what's up with the land? Like, your land is talking to me. And we found out that up above her, there had been some really terrible men who were poisoning the river. Not like purposely, but they were just dumping trash in the river. And I was like, I can hear that. And she was able to go to her town hall and be like, look, the river's still not clean. We need to have these water levels tested. And it's still in the process of getting them tested. But we were able to like help the sanitation of her entire town. She lived in a small town, of her entire town, because the water hadn't been fully cleaned up yet. So just like wildly cool stuff like that. So you can absolutely do this for yourself, but I'd also love just to help you decipher the messages of your home, especially if you're in a very crowded, noisy home, or you're in like a city where it's really hard to hear stuff. I just love to do this. So does anybody have any questions though? Like I know there's a whole bunch of people still joining, but any questions on like how to do this for yourself? The land is really starting to talk more and more. And I think more and more people are able to hear it clearer in a way that they weren't able to hear it before, which not only is like the coolest thing ever, but what a beautiful opportunity for us to be able to do this for ourselves. Because the more you hear your intuition and start to trust your intuition, because remember, the biggest thing that we don't trust our intuition around is just trusting the messages that come to us, no matter how weird they are or how off or like, wow, I really don't want to hear that. And getting more comfortable looking in the mirror at the ways that we are not taking responsibility. Because I do trauma-informed everything here. Now, there's two truths to that. We can certainly look back and say, wow, I really didn't get what I needed in my past. This happened, that happened. But we take really deep responsibility here and say, okay, maybe these things happened, but I know I need to fix them because my life will only get better when I fix these things. So just looking if I have any other questions. I'll take questions on anything, guys. If you have just like a question about decluttering or whatever it is, I'm always happy to answer a couple of questions for folks. So the best ways to work with me right now is, well, first, something's coming later this month. I'm excited for that. But I can always, you can do the decluttering workshops. They are always for sale. You can always pick that up. You'll get lifetime access. And people, like I just had an email. I don't know if you guys saw that, if you're on my email list. I had an email from somebody last week who bought the decluttering workshops she emailed me like 10 days after she bought it, and she was already decluttering her home, which was the coolest thing, like 10 freaking days. And what I walk you through is internal work. We do internal decluttering work of memories, thoughts, shame, grief. And the more you do that, the more that the physical act of decluttering becomes effortless. So that's always around. And then there's also one-to-one work with me, which is what I'm talking about right now, of how to do this for yourself. But if you really like this, I have Soul of the Home readings. How would you work with the house to support health issues? I mean, there's so many different ways to talk about health issues. So every piece of your home in feng shui is linked to something in your body. Doors are our mouths and our tongues, so they help us speak. It's like your throat chakra. I mean, hallways are our circulatory system. Water is our kidneys. You know, there's so many different ways to work and support somebody, but it kind of depends on the messages that they're getting from their home. So I had a client way back in the very beginning when I was still doing feng shui consults in the home. This is like slightly pre and early pandemic, before I switched to online. And I saw a leak in her basement, and I didn't even know what, this was a young couple. I don't even know really what prompted me to say that. And I said, you should really get this leak fixed, apart from it being a small leak in their basement. But I just blurted out, I was like, this could actually prevent you guys from getting pregnant. It can cause issues with pregnancy. They hadn't said anything to me about wanting to get pregnant. That wasn't why they called me in. It was just kind of a random thing. And then I was like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And then they both were just like their jaws dropped. And they were like, how did you know we were trying to get pregnant and we were having trouble? They had been having miscarriages. And I said, get this fixed. You'll stop having miscarriages. About 6 months later, they were pregnant after they got it fixed, that is. 6 months after they got it fixed. So there's so many different things there, but you just have to know what the home is telling you. Any other questions? If not, I will hop off and you guys can rewatch this whole thing so you get all of the good juicy wisdom, especially if you came in the middle. I'm out of water, so that always tells me that it's time to hop off. Let me see here. I get so many good questions from you guys. You guys are the coolest audience, by the way. I really, really love working with all of you and getting to know your homes and your stories. This was amazing. Thank you. Confronting too. I know. Let me just say this. To be able to talk this deeply and to hold the mirror up to so many people, but what I would like to hope is a very supportive way, took me years to do. I was one of those crazy kids, wild kids who would go up to you, look at you, and like pull out your demons and be like, why are you holding on to grief from your mother? Like just such a truth teller. And people really didn't like that. Who likes a little kid coming up to them and like literally seeing the skeletons that they're trying to keep in their closet? So this took me a very long time to be able to get comfortable with. So I know what I say can be very confronting, but I'd like to hope it's coming through in a supportive way, because the more you confront and look in the mirror and drop the shame and just say, okay, I got this, I can do this, I believe in myself, the more your life is really gonna get better. And I know that gets thrown around a lot, but it's the absolute truth. I've been on this healing journey now for 7 years. 7 years. The worst day of my life, my absolute rock bottom moment, was the day of my wedding. The day of my wedding, my two biggest abusers walked me down the aisle, my parents. It was the worst day of my life. I'm still married. I have a beautiful relationship with my husband. I even got married again at 5 years. We've been married 7 years now. But if you allow this process to unfold, you will be brought somewhere just beautiful. You can't possibly know where that is right now, but you will be brought somewhere beautiful. But I'm sitting here now with a very successful business and just a life I love, because I just refused to not heal. But that healing journey really came with looking in the mirror. I moved into an old new apartment and my room is trashed. I get so overwhelmed. You are so not alone there. I used to be so organized, but that move exhausted me, and I still haven't put away all my clothes away. My clothes are away in boxes. I don't know where to start. The landlord is abusive and refuses to fix things. I'm sorry. I feel deflated. Okay, first. Okay, what do I want to ask you? Okay. So first, I want you to go ahead and close your eyes. And I wonder how it would feel. I'm curious. Go with me. If you just internally said to yourself, I forgive you. I forgive you. And use your name too. I know this has been hard for me. I know I'm not where I'd like to be, but I forgive myself. And I love myself. I'm curious what that does in your body. And you don't have to reply, by the way. You certainly do not need to, since I just kind of made you my guinea pig. You can keep this to yourself if that feels better. But I want you to notice when you say, I forgive myself, I love myself, and this could go for anybody if you're feeling shame. What happens in your body? What do you feel? You might not feel release. You might feel constriction. That's okay. It's all information. What does your mind say? What does your body do? Because when we start to go from one expectation of home should look this way, everything should be neat and orderly, to something different, to something that was unintended, not what we expected, we can feel like we're failing. And most of what in that state of kind of feeling of failure, most of that is holding us back is us continuing what's the word I'm looking for? Just to strengthen these neural connections in our mind that we are somehow failing. That because you still have your clothes in boxes, you're an abject failure. Now, I know that's not where you want to be, But the more we let go of this story that I'm failing, the more we let our nervous system relax. So when we feel overwhelmed, the term overwhelmed is just code for my body is in a functional freeze. It's in like a freeze state because I need to release something that I'm constantly thinking in my mind. Thank you for sharing. My left shoulder started trembling and I started crying. Okay, I'm sorry I made you cry, but also I'm not sorry I made you cry because you probably needed that release. Do that a few more times. See what memories or thoughts come up. This is the inner child healing piece, which makes what I do so powerful. See what memories come up. See what thoughts come up. Just tell yourself, I'm sorry. I love you. See a younger version of you and just tell her that you love her. Doesn't matter who it is. See who comes up first. You're so welcome. That will start to release the overwhelmed feeling that you have. Now, I can't promise that means you're going to wake up tomorrow and suddenly your apartment's going to be like perfect, beautiful, exactly how you see it. But it will start to open up and stuff will start to shed. Allow tears to come. Tears are a release of emotion. I'm so curious when the story is more generational, like this means I'm like my mom who couldn't take care of herself equals her home or me. Freeze is just an example of it feeling or my mom's. Okay, I see what you're saying here. So when the story's more generational, when it's more like, oh my God, I'm turning into my mother, or oh my God, my father did the exact same thing, I want you to know that is one, that's just something you learned in childhood, something that was modeled to you. I hope I'm reading this right, but correct me if I'm not taking your question the right way. But typically what we're modeled in childhood is what we end up becoming in a lot of ways because it feels safe, it feels normal, it's been normalized, and it feels like, well, we don't have to think too hard, I'll just do what my mom did. Now, that can mean one of two things. That can mean something positive, like my mom always made pancakes for me on my birthday and I loved that, so I'm going to do that with my kids. Or that can mean my mom yelled at me constantly for not cleaning my room the right way, and now I find that I'm doing that same thing with my kids. So I want you to take a step back and notice they're both of these things are coming from the same place. It's something generational that we saw that became habituated in our system, that became normalized, but it can have two very different connotations in our reality. So if you are noticing that you are doing something that you don't like, that you're like, shit, my mom did this. I know what that will do in your body because I've done this too. I'm like, oh my God, shit, I'm becoming my mother, which feels like the worst possible thing ever if you had an abusive mother. Your body wants to freeze. You want to like freeze your body in place. You want to tense all your muscles. At least that's how it comes out in my body. Your body might be different. I want to tense all my muscles and be like, and I want to push this thought away. No. I cannot become my mother. My mother was super abusive. What I want you to do is take a few deep breaths. Just know that whatever kind of rolled down here, whether it was generational joy or generational trauma, it's just habituation in your body. Meaning if you learned it, you can unlearn it. You can choose differently. The best way to do this is to go back in time, so to speak, to the time when you were experiencing this, the tables were reversed. It was your mom doing it to you. And it's really good to have a practitioner do this with you or a therapist. If this doesn't feel safe to do in your body, I don't push anybody into doing this. But what you can do is to close your eyes and rewind the clock, so to speak, and think about who were you, what age you were, where you were when this was kind of being done to you. This is inner child healing, by the way. And then you step in, you see yourself as the younger person, the younger version of you, but then you step in as the adult. So there's kind of two of you in your mind. You step in as the adult and you take ownership of the situation. And you say to your mom, whatever you want to say to her, shut the fuck up, get the fuck out, excuse my French. You say, no, 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 this is wrong. I'm taking over the situation. You banish her. And you say, I'm just going to use the cleaning the room example. But you say, you get to clean your room however you like. Where should this toy go? What do you want to do with this jacket? And you take ownership of the situation and you give your prior version what she most needed in that moment. Sometimes it's a shoulder to cry on. It's a hug. It's getting rid of the abusive parent in the memory. That is inner child healing in a nutshell. So you can always, if that felt like too much in your body to do all at once, I get it. That's why I walk my clients through this. But if you want to do some smaller version of that, just see this prior version of yourself and just hug her. Tell her that you love her. Tell her that you're here now. You're going to take ownership of her and responsibility for her. And you can just give her like a pep talk that she has so much to look forward to in her life. All the good things, even if there's bad things, all the good things she has to look forward to. I hope that helps. I know that was kind of a long example. Okay, so she had an awful mental illness, so when my house is a mess, I don't want it to be that way, basically, but I am also mentally ill. You know what? Honestly, who isn't? We're living in a time where this is wild right now. I don't know anybody who has their shit together. So I want you to know that's not your fault. But I also understand what you're saying of like, no, I cannot become my mother. And how soul crushing that thought can be. You simply learned something as a child. And because you learned it, because our brains are beautiful, you can unlearn it. That process doesn't always mean it's easy or it's clean or simple, but you can do it. You can unlearn these things. See if there's any other thoughts, questions, or concerns. Okay, cool, you guys. Hi, I'm so overwhelmed with clutter and disorganization. Okay, absolutely. You are not alone, by the way. I think we are incredibly overwhelmed in our lives, and we are incredibly overwhelmed in our homes. I think go back, rewatch this whole thing. There will be so many messages for you in here, especially if you're just joining in the last few minutes. My parents never throw anything away. Mine didn't either. It was awful. And I have so much stuff, but somehow I have become worse. Okay, first, same thing I was saying before, I think to Robin. Stop for a moment. Close your eyes. Tell yourself that you love yourself. That it's okay that this is not where you want to be, but that you love and forgive yourself. And just sit with that for a few minutes. See what happens. Everybody's going to be a little different. Everybody's going to be a little... Oh, yeah, you just joined. Yeah, no worries. Absolutely. Then go back and rewatch this whole thing. This will give you some major truth bombs and some ahas. I just cleaned under my bed and it felt so seen and spacious in my body and mind. Like just now? Or like in the past like couple of days? Because I know you and I were talking in the DMs too. Just like I don't have to hide. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's so amazing how deeply connected our subconscious minds are to space. And I feel like this is so not talked about, right? As you come through, you're doing such unique, nuanced work. You're welcome. It's because I grew up this way. I grew up not only with a natural ability to feel space and to hear messages from possessions, but I also grew up in a home where that was verbally abusive, spiritually abusive, physically abusive, but also my parents never threw anything out. So there was this level of stagnation. I used to feel like my parents' arguments at the dinner table while I was crying into my dinner plate, I used to picture in my mind like their arguments and their cussing at each other was like getting painted onto the walls because I could feel that energy of the home. Like I could feel it, and I never had words for it. I thought I was weird. And it wasn't until I became an occupational therapist working in people's homes that I realized the root to everything in our home is trauma. And then I became a feng shui practitioner and I had the words for everything I was feeling. And so that's how I'm here today. Oh, the other day, I meant to tell you, yay, I'm so glad our conversations, you did beautiful. I told you, you were so eloquent in those DMs. It really blew me away. Yay, I'm so glad you cleans. Wow, even just listening to you, I've been tidying up. I can tidy up and then I turn around and it's a mess again. Okay, I get that. So frustrating, but the idea of asking what my space needs is very helpful. Ask it. What's happening? So what happens in our bodies when we clean something, but then it goes right back, which, by the way, it will go to some degree back because our home breathes alongside of us. Think about your home as lungs. It's going to expand and contract in these normal cycles. But if something is really feeling like, no, that's out of whack, and I feel that it's out of whack, what's happening is it's boomeranging. Your nervous system is boomeranging. So what happens then is we're pushing ourselves really, really hard to do something. It means our motivation is coming from shame and not real desire. So when we motivate ourselves from shame, we're in our heads going, come on, you can do this. Come on, just do it. That person on the internet can do it. Or just 5 minutes, push, push, push. We're pushing ourselves. But it doesn't feel safe in our body. So our mind is overriding the truth and our need for safety in the body. So what happens is we'll go to clean something, but it'll boomerang right back. Because what your body's actually asking for is for you to stop, listen, notice, heal, and then whatever is kind of collecting that really kind of feels out of kilter will stop collecting. That doesn't mean it's going to stay perfectly tidy, nothing on this table or this cabinet or on that shelf forever. Remember, home is lungs. It's going to expand and contract along with us. Home is not static. But you can start to notice when something feels just normal, natural, of like, oh, that's getting a little messy again. Let me find a home for all this stuff. And what's, oh my God, this is driving me nuts. So I hope that helps. But ask your space too. I don't want to override your natural intuition. That is never my intention. I want you to hear from you, understand you, because then that way you become your own healer and you never need to listen to anybody on the internet again. I'm not even joking about that. When I first started my business, I was like, oh my God, I need all these business coaches. I'm spending all of my savings on these business coaches until I learned that. And I was like, oh, I don't need these bitches. They do a beautiful work. I'm sure they do beautiful work. But I was like, I don't need these people. I'm going to listen to me. I'm going to listen to my intuition. Just an aside if you run a business. But okay, you guys, I've been on for about 15 minutes now. Go back, rewatch this. If you want a little kick in the pants, I'm doing Soul of the Home readings. Well, I will help you decipher the messages of your space in those 3 ways that I started talking about at the very beginning. So, DM me for the link. I'll put the link in my, both my link tree on my link in bio and also on my stories. These are much cheaper than working with me one-to-one for decluttering, just because I find them really, really fun. They're $250. They're so fun for me. I love to do this work with you guys and to help you start to see the nuances in your home. They're an hour long. They're so fun for me. A quick Zoom session and you'll have so much more wisdom to move forward. So I'll get you guys that link, or you can DM me if you've been watching this live. But thank you guys so much. I'm always so happy to come on and chat with y'all. You guys are the best. So, mwah.